Welcome to The Arts Are the Answer, a co-production of the Arts Council for Monterey County and Access Monterey Peninsula. My name is Steve Elsie. I'm the executive producer for AMP.
And I'm Paulette Lynch, Executive Director of the Arts Council for Monterey County. Over the next 30 minutes, artists, educators, and presenters will share their stories and their passions.
And also how the arts bring joy and vitality into our lives.
It all starts right now. I'm here with Michael Houston, who is involved in so many wonderful arts programs throughout Monterey County, and he served as the past president of the Arts Council for Monterey County. Today he's going to talk about a really heartwarming project called Voices of the Street. So welcome, Michael. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Paulette. And so the Voices of the Street is Monterey's first homeless newspaper. We've been going since December of 2011. We try to keep it interesting. We start off with caritas and kindness to the lepers. So we're dealing with a marginalized population. And then we started moving more towards a little bit of a political turn on war and violence. But our current thing is more like, is life possible still on Earth? It's sort of I find it a very existential and artistic situation to be homeless, to be marginalized, and in the darkness of our sleep.
So, Michael, this is amazing, and I don't think anyone would ever expect so much detail, so much content, and so many great things explored in this way. How did you get involved?
I was an elementary school teacher and have a degree in communication, so I had the good luck in the Alisal Union School District of being a technology and video mentor for other teachers. So when I retired from teaching, our friend Arlene Krebs, who's a great grant writer, told me about this project that Cal State Monterey Bay had in Chinatown, Salinas, and it was a computer lab.
I see. Arlene's such a great connector, so that's wonderful. I wasn't sure how that all came together. So, and for you, this is a really compelling project. I mean, you're out there giving these away and getting a donation. Is it $1 for each?
That's where we are now. It started off with, I was just a trainer, but they gave us a computer lab. So what do you do when you've got these nice, smart people and computers? You make a newspaper. So so it started off with, we've got these marginalized folks with a story to tell, very dynamic individuals like Robert Mills, who's been active in Dorothy's Place, and the Franciscan Brothers, and with a very giving sort of approach to what life means. And then you get me coming along with the more artistic of, so how do we tell this story without getting people angry, and at the same time get the dialogue going so we do get some kind of progress. So we have an arts paper.
And this is what we talk about at the Arts Council all the time, that the arts are the answer for, especially for things like getting a dialogue going, being able to talk well beyond words, even in the newspaper. And so you also incorporate cartoons, is it? And also some graphic design and photos, and you have poetry. Can you talk a little bit about the poetry part?
The poetry part is every issue runs poems, and it's Rosa Elena is our current all-star, but we have folks from all over the world who end up in Chinatown. Raul Sanchez from Veracruz, Rosa Elena, who's been active in Salinas for so many years and works with the Noche Bohemia people. But these are homeless authors, and the openness of our community to where you may well be marginalized, but in the arts there's a certain equity and respect for one another. So we have another artist is Antonio Canalias, who's our cartoonist from downtown Managua, Nicaragua. And he contributes his perspective on things that are rather disturbing, like the Chinatown sweeps, or what do you do about the population you really don't want to see? And since they won't evaporate, we accept them, and the arts are a good way to help us get to our compassion, to get to the place we want to go.
Well, you are so well on your way with this project. There's so many things there, and there's so many things that people need to learn, but it's also a richness of expression that people have a chance to do. So thank you for providing that connection for all of us. This is really, really important. And I see that your tagline is to inspire, to provoke, enlighten, and empower. And it's also in English and Spanish. So some of it is in English, some of it's in Spanish.
That's the way we do it. We've got the Spanish is mostly the poetry. mostly when you come to just storytelling, it's usually in English. We think about being more bilingual. For some reason, it's been the Spanish poetry, and it's very powerful.
Well, we look forward to seeing more editions and watch you as you grow. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having us, and thanks to Van and Eugene and Jason and Rose and all the people that make this paper possible.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, take care.
As I walk through the memories, I remember his smile and my tiny footsteps following his. So free, with good intentions. I begin to remember my father in a different way. Where did he go when he left us? How angry, how violent he could be. Sometimes his eyes were clouded over and he couldn't even see his daughters. His absence became my pain. I love him still. He gave me truth. In the end, he was sorry. And in the end, he could see me smiling with my good intentions.
Hi, my name is Walter Ryce. I'm the arts writer for the Monterey County Weekly, and I'm glad to have here on the show as my guest, Sandra Gray. Sandra is a longtime local artist, arts educator, and arts organizer, and I'm glad that you're able to join us. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Walter.
So let's start at the beginning with where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised in Stockton, California.
And for how long did you live the first years of your life there?
I lived in Stockton from the time I was born until I came here in 1971.
Okay. And how old were you when you came here?
I don't remember. I was in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where did the inclination to do art first enter your life, where, as far as you remember?
The earliest thing I remember was picking up an oak bowl, you know, those round balls that grow on oak trees. And I had access to an X-Acto knife. And I made this cut on my thumb trying to carve it in the backyard. Mm-hmm. And I hid it from my grandmother so that she would not see the blood. And I still have the scar after all these years. And the next thing I remember is my mother remembers, in fact, and my father too. I would stand in the hallway looking into the kitchen, mm-hmm. and we had these vines that were hanging from little planters above the sink. And I stood there and drew in perspective the plants. And I was about 5 or 6 mm-hmm. years old. My mother kept those for a long time, the drawings. It was pencil on a piece of paper.
Was there anyone else in your family artistically inclined?
Well, my mother would say she wasn't, but I thought she was. She was very inventive, and she always did all kinds of crafts. She did mm-hmm. Crocheting and needlepoint and crosshatch on canvas. She even made me a dollhouse out of crosshatch on canvas that I still have. My father's a master carpenter. He did that for many, many years, but he retired about 30 years ago. He started when he was, I think, 10 or 16. 16 is when he said he started as a carpenter. He's very inventive. Every time I went to visit him, I'd find something else that he had made with his inventive skills and creativity. Okay. So I think it runs in the family.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a precedent.
Yeah.
How did you nurture your artistic skill and your eye, like as far as formal training or informal training?
Well, I always liked to read. At first, I had problems with my eyesight, so I ended up getting glasses when I was in 2nd grade, I believe. And after that, I was doing fine in reading. And I used to go to the library every single day. And I found the books on drawing. And I would use those books until I'd used every one of them in that little library in my neighborhood that I could walk to. And I would use those books and teach myself to draw. And that was in elementary school.
Wow.
And when I was in the 6th grade, I had a very, very supportive teacher who really encouraged me to do my drawings and art. And I also had an exhibit, not a single exhibit or a solo exhibit, but I did have a piece of my artwork exhibited at the Helene Museum in Stockton, California. It was a wire sculpture that I made out of a coat hanger, a wire coat hanger. People probably don't even know that they made them a long time ago without any paper or anything or plastic. And I twisted that with pliers, which were very plentiful in my house because my father always had tools laying around. And I made a kangaroo, which was on the exhibit there.
Okay. So in your 20s, you came here to the Peninsula,
yes.
And you came here to teach. What did you teach and where and to whom?
Okay. Well, when I was in college, I made up my mind I was not going to major in anything but art. So I majored in art and minored in teaching. I also had a hard time deciding between teaching and speech therapy, but I decided on teaching because I didn't like all the classes for speech therapy. Anyway, when I got here, I taught at Crumpton, and I taught kindergarten, and then I went to Ord Terrace because they had an art program there that they needed an art teacher for the whole school. The district had art teachers at all the elementary schools. So I taught art to the whole school for a year with $600 in my budget, which was a big stretch.
For how many students?
600 students.
Yeah.
A little more than 600, but that's all I had was $600. So we did a lot of art with recycling materials and things that the kids brought from home and things that I scrounged from different companies and different places around the peninsula.
Okay.
Then I went from Ord Terrace. Well, I stayed at Ord Terrace with the art program for only 1, maybe 2 years. I'm not sure now. Then I taught second grade because they ended the program because they decided they wanted a language arts teacher. And then I taught second grade for a while. And then a kindergarten opening came up, which I love. And I took that, but then the enrollment was too small. So I ended up going to Patton, where they had a kindergarten. That didn't last long, so I got second grade at Patton, which I like. And then Patton closed because Fort Ord closed. And the only job I could get was with the fourth grade at Ord Terrace, which is higher level than I like as far as grade levels. But we had a lot of fun in that class because I still, every time I had a class, I always taught art. And I taught the teachers how to teach art at every school I've been at. I've done workshop for the teachers to show them how to manage their classroom for art and easy lessons that they could do. And after Ord Terrace, I retired in 2003.
So it sounds like you've got a pretty comprehensive presence here in Seaside and Monterey County, and that should be fairly easy for people to find you through all the work you've done over the years. And I'm sure people have appreciated your stuff and will in the future. Thank you for coming on, Sandra.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
It's been great.
Good.
Hello, my name is Berniz House, the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Arts Council. Please visit our cultural directory to learn more about our art groups in our region. Today, the Artistic Director for the Monterey Community Gospel Choir will explain more about his work and how this group started.
Hello, I'm John Nash Jr. here, Choir President and Director and Founder of the Monterey Peninsula Gospel Community Choir, which started approximately 4 years ago, which branched off from the Monterey Peninsula Gospel Festival. There was a need that was missing in the Monterey area for gospel choir and gospel information. And when speaking with Dr. Peter Silser and Lorraine and Janetta Williams, realizing that maybe we could bring a forum whereby we can express the information needed and provide a venue where people can come and learn, experience, and perform gospel music. We set out to make this happen. And the three of us met, and we're excited. The energy was very powerful in the room.
Well, it is such a pleasure to have with me in the studio today Helene Glick, who is the Assistant Curator for the Monterey Museum of Art. Helene, thank you so much for coming in.
I'm happy to be here.
The Monterey Museum of Art, I always think of it as on Pacific Street, but then you have another location?
Yes, we do. We have two locations. Our other location is off of Fremont Street, and it's right adjacent to Monterey Peninsula College.
And that's La Mirada?
That is La Mirada.
Okay. What do you do there? What's the difference between the two?
Well, Pacific Street is an old historic building, and it's in downtown Monterey, right across the street from Colton Hall. La Mirada was an adobe building, and in the 20s, a family built a lovely home adjacent to that, and then in the 90s, we built some galleries designed by the architect Charles Moore, adjacent to that. And there's gardens, there's rose gardens and rhododendron gardens. It's a beautiful venue.
Now, for some reason, I remember being at an event there. Can the public rent La Mirada?
Actually, they can, yes. We have all kinds of events there, but particularly it's a wonderful space for weddings.
Oh, I bet. You are in charge or oversee and know a lot about one of the most amazing exhibits that happens this time of year, miniatures. But I understand that it's changed from its inception. Can you walk us through that?
Yes, it's very different from where it began. The museum many years ago had a fundraising it wasn't an exhibition, a fundraising event called the Festival of Trees, in which Christmas trees were decorated and then auctioned off to raise funds for the museum. And a very clever woman, Elsa Williams, in the 1980s had the idea of having local artists paint small pictures to use as ornaments for these trees.
Okay. And that's how the miniature concept came about.
That's right.
And what is it like today then? What will people see?
Well, in the 90s, that event ended, but the miniatures was so successful, it was brought into the museum, and the pieces are now donated by local artists and museum members and installed on the main gallery walls of the museum. It started out from the tree, the small ornament idea. They're no longer really tiny, but they've grown to be a little bit bigger, and artists of all different kinds donate all different kinds of art. So we not only have paintings or works on paper, but we get sculpture and blown glass and handmade books.
Okay.
All kinds of things.
And the unifying concept is that they're smaller than usual.
That's right. The size is the unifying concept. And that's really the only criteria. They have to be 7 inches by 9 inches or smaller.
Okay.
And if they're three-dimensional, the same thing goes, 7 by 7 by 9 inches. But within those criteria, people are so creative. They can do anything they want.
Okay. Can anyone donate a miniature, anyone from across the country, or do you limit it or restrict it somehow?
We limit it to 300 artists, and that's just because that's the amount of room we have, and that's the amount of pieces we can fit. But beginning a couple of years ago, we made participation in miniatures a benefit of museum membership.
Well, that's a great benefit.
It is a great benefit, and we think that anyone who's interested in the arts and all of our local artists should be supporting their local Monterey Museum of Art. And it works out really well. So that's another fun thing to say, that everyone whose artwork is on the wall is also a museum member.
Wonderful. And okay, tell us when it starts.
The opening of miniatures is Wednesday, November 20th. We have a little celebration. The public is invited from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m.
All right, and then it goes for how long?
It goes through the end of the year. And we are open late on New Year's. We're open New Year's Eve because of the first night Monterey. So people can come into the museum and buy their miniatures tickets.
Oh, that's wonderful. And is there a website that people can go to also?
Yes, the museum's website is www.montereyart.org. And if you want to go to miniatures, there's a drop-down menu and you can click on miniatures, or you can just enter /miniatures in the address.
Perfect. Helene, thank you so much for coming on The Arts Are the Answer, and we look forward to having you back sometime, and we really look forward to miniatures. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for watching, and thanks to all our guests today. As you can see, We are very fortunate to live in a region with so much vitality and diversity.
The arts are magical, but nothing happens by magic alone.
So join us on camera to tell your story, or join us behind the scenes.
Find out more and get more involved today. We think you too will discover
the arts are the answer.